So that's true spiritual warfare. But it has to start with your own being. You have to, as I shared the other night, you have to accept yourself exactly the way you are. We know that God does, but yet we can't believe it. What's the song that Billy Graham sings at every crusade? Just as I am, I come to you. We know that we can't change ourselves. And we have to come to God, not just once, but every day of our lives, we have to come to God just as we are. No matter what your station in life, no matter what your lifestyle, no matter what your hangout, no matter what your problem is, every day of your life, you have to come into the presence of God just the way you are. Well, religion will tell you can't do that. You know that the multitude of churches, for the most part across America, would not let a lesbian or a gay person in their congregation. What are we living by? Right and wrong, good and evil. Yeah. I'll tell you, I want so desperately to get this. If you knew the hurt, if you were out there ministering among the people and you knew the hurt, especially among the gay lifestyle, my heart, I'll tell you what, we have to learn to live by love. And I'm not saying, do away with discernment. I can't stand a lifestyle like that for me personally. But there's such an overwhelming love of God for everyone. And if you learn to live by the tree of life, you will experience that. Just if you refuse to bring judgment against people and realize that if you do judge out of the tree of life, if there is a judgment, is a judgment unto righteousness. Remember what the scriptures say? When your judgments are on the earth, the people will learn righteousness, because God's judgments are not punitive. They're not out of angry, vengeful. They're not out of wrath. God's judgments are out of His passion to make everything right in you that's wrong. That's how God judges. It's a righteous judgment. And yes, you may go through the fire. Then the fire gets mighty hot. And the trials and the circumstances that are raised up in your life, most of the time they're raised up there because you're sowing or you're reaping what you're sowing. But you must realize that God only concern is that you understand and begin to realize that that person that's been formed in your mind since birth, that person of being separate from God, of being, all of the things that we go through thinking that we're carnal human beings, God doesn't even look at that. God will never see you in any way but perfect. You see, and it's God. God knows, we talk about imaging. God knows how to image. And He holds that image of you. I heard this from the very throne of God. I heard this. That I hold a perfect image of you. I don't look at your faults and your hang-ups. I hold a perfect image of you. And that's the way I see you. And then you have to begin to see yourself and know that God loves you unconditionally. This is the gospel that I want to see get out to the world. Could you imagine if we had a world full of people who didn't look at people through the eyes of good and evil? You say, well, people would just live any way they want to. Well, you can't stop them, but you can love them. And if you love them and minister to them, you will see great change take place. If you were in our office and read the letters and get the phone calls of people all over this world The lives have been changed because they hear a message that has nothing but God loves you. And God is not angry with you. So spiritual warfare really is, first of all, to have your loins girded about with truth, to know. And only God gives us this revelation, to know that we have, even before the foundation of the world, everything was given to us in Christ that we would need to come into this realm and to take the truth of our being and to begin to infiltrate every area of this temple until every bit of anger, every bit of animosity, every bit of unforgiveness, every bit of everything in that carnal realm is gone. I'm telling you the truth, folks. My experience is I have no ill will. I have no bitterness. I'm telling you the truth. You could point a gun at me and shoot me, and I'd be crying out to God for you as I fall to the ground. This life is available to everyone. God doesn't have special people that He gives special gifts to. All of us are unique. Every person that comes into this world is unique and given everything that they need, even before they came here to overcome.
Amen.
And we've just forgotten. And the book of remembrance, as you understand, this book is all about you. It's not about the Israelis. It's not about anything but the unveiling of Christ in a people. I shared the last time I was here that about the revelation of Christ in a people. That's the only way you will ever build the church, is by understanding that Christ is in every man, and we build the church by ministering to the Christ that's in every man. You build on that foundation, and you will have the most glorious people come forth in your midst. But as long as you're all judging one another, you're all getting angry at one another because this doesn't go right and that doesn't go right, and you feel you have every right to be angry because, you know, whatever. In reality, we have no rights whatsoever except to love. That's an honor and a privilege. You can love regardless. So the only spiritual warfare we need to be involved with is to taking possession of this land. And thank God today. I mean, there have been people for a couple thousand years that didn't have a clue that God wasn't angry with them. They didn't know that they didn't have to perform in a certain way to be accepted by God. They didn't know that they were chosen in Him before the foundation of the world, that they would be holy and without blame. We really need to believe. Because if you can believe, and why can't we believe this? We say we do, but you know what? When God really speaks to you through the Word, and He says, I have chosen you before the foundation of the world, and you are holy and without blame before me in love, what a joyful people we would become. But we have to realize that even though that's who we are in the Spirit, that's a wonderful thing to know. But we must walk it out in this land. It's not just a matter of knowing that it's a finished work, but it must be walked out in this, everything in this thing, in this temple that's not according to godliness, whether it's anger or bitterness or hatefulness or lust, whatever it is, to realize that as you learn to speak from the Spirit, from your innermost being, you learn to speak to that soul